True. How are we? How's it going? Oh no. Yikes. Glad you're okay. You're okay, right? Guess I should have asked that question first. Good, 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 good. No tentacles. You definitely gotta check for tentacles. Uh, so Nakomi wasn't feeling well tonight. So here I am. It's me. Hello. Still working on it? I'm sorry. Yeah. Not feeling well, so just me and yeah, I'm sure she'll be all good soon. I've been obsessing today. That's been my day. I want to say that I basically sat down today with a mission and then had what was effectively like writer's block is what occurred. Yeah, kind of. I'm in a really weird spot in terms of like figuring this stuff out and navigating the way that I work on things like this and the way that I think about things like this. I get a lot of advice that is fine advice, but it's a little bit like I'm not I don't know. I'm not like a college student trying to make my first game. I'm an old person trying to make a game. And I have a lot of pre-existing experience with like understanding how to approach things and pitfalls and gotchas and whatever else. And I feel like my problem is somewhere between sort of being a naive idealist and a tired curmudgeon. Somewhere in there. There's this sort of inherent thing where like I'm reminded of like game pitches. Um, there's this thing where it's basically a meme that like younger people will pitch games in this really naive way where the scope is basically impossible and it's because they don't know things. And the thing that I am looking to do has a very large scope. And so I'm in this position of, well, I'm not naive enough to not recognize that the scope for the thing I want to do is big. But, or am I? And I feel like I started spinning my wheels because I recognize that. But all of the sort of the watch out and be careful advice is like from a perspective of, well, you've never done anything like this before and you just don't know what you're in for. But it's like, I think I kind of do know what I'm in for. I just am agonizing about the details of approaching it. But I don't know. Right, yeah. Nintendo hired this man. Uh, because I do have an understanding of the scope. Like even my Survivors game from last year, I got a really good sense of what the scope for putting together a game is. And like I would say that that was definitely larger than I predicted. Not excessively so. I did slap most of the critical stuff together in about 2 weeks. But then that thing happened where it was like, oh, what is the fucking adage of like when you feel like you're 90% done, there's 90% left to go. After I had kind of completed that 2 week sprint leading into Scream a Day, then the whole month after that, very little actually happened with it because it was just, I don't know, kind of written poorly. It wasn't organized well enough to. It had too much spaghetti code stuff, too much coupling of things here, there, and everywhere, where it was difficult to actually add new things because there was just junk that existed in places that it shouldn't have existed, and yada yada yada. I am feel better. So I think I mostly fell into a gridlock of anticipating and wanting to prepare myself to address future problems that I know will exist. And I just sort of stun locked myself with that. I did find a good and interesting book though that I've never read before. that has kind of given me some better feelings about approaching some of this stuff and organizing it. In fact, I will say that like organization, I remember agonizing about this while I was making survivors. I think I identified my problem correctly because when I was doing survivors, and I did at one point give a tour of the code, and I was like, can anybody tell me how I could like organize this better? And I don't recall anybody really having any big suggestions on it, but I felt the whole time like I was like, I wish I knew how to just organize this better, because that feels to me like that's the thing that's wrong, and I'm 100% sure that that's what was fucking wrong. I know. I think that that is definitely wisdom. But what if I'm built different and not in a good way? You know? Like thinking back, it's weird that I agonized about the disorganization issues of my code with survivors, but I did not address them at all. But I felt like completely adrift with it. I just was like, I don't even know where to turn. I don't know I don't know how to organize this better. And I feel like I'm doing a weird thing that like no one else is really, not that I've invented something, but just like I'm approaching it in such a weird way that no one really has any answers, because it's like, well, in my language that I use, this stuff is just sort of inherently taken care of, or just, that sort of thing. Basically, just like, well, we don't know how to help you. It's a that's a really weird name for him. I feel like I missed some memes somewhere along the line. I knew exactly who you were talking about immediately, and yet, yeah. Well, I think that that's what I'm saying, is that I'm not aiming to build for something that I'm guessing will happen. Because again, I totally recognize that, and I see that advice regularly too. Actually, in a lot of this recent research I've been doing to try to stuff object oriented programming patterns into my mind, a common thread throughout is like basically saying exactly like that's a common criticism of object oriented programming, is like a lot of the stuff you have to be careful and only use it when you really need to use it, because you can get into this thing where you're like building stuff because you think it will be useful, but you don't actually know. You're just sort of guessing that you're gonna. But like I'm aware of that. What I'm saying is there are things I know I will do. They are guaranteed to happen. Is basically what I'm saying. So I'm not aiming to build like a bunch of scaffolding I don't know if I'll be using or not. It's strictly about, so I've written out kind of a design document of these are the things I want to achieve. These are the things I think I need. And then I looked through it and I was like, okay, well, there's a lot of stuff here that I don't actually know how, like, where to start with it. And I do know that the sort of I want a lot of separation of concerns, and that sort of recognition was where I was like, okay, well, I need to brush up on some things and try to get an idea of how to start in an organized way, because you have to be disciplined about this stuff basically the whole way through to maintain it and keep it from becoming a mess. But I also acknowledge that sometimes it just pays to just fucking get a thing out that does stuff and then refactor it. So I'm not trying to fight the wisdom. I want to be clear about that. am absolutely trying to be mindful of that sort of as much as possible. I don't want to like argue myself out of doing this sort of thing. That sounds about right. That does sound about right. And I would never ever call myself a writer, but every now and then I get a little spark. And you've basically written out the thing that I do, where I have some idea that I think is really cool. What I do is I chuck it into a Google Doc, and then I never look at that Google Doc ever again. Some part of me is like, I'm going to save this so that I'll have it in the future when someday, for some reason, I've become a writer, I guess. And it's just, I just have so many Google Docs that are just one paragraph. It's just like an idea, and I just wrote it down. I was like, well, if I throw it in there, it'll be somewhere. Right. But I'll never fucking look at any of that shit again. Never a once. And I think the reason I do that is because what I used to do was I would open up Notepad and chuck it in there and then save it somewhere, never to be seen again. It's even more lost. It's a fucking text file somewhere on my fucking computer, you know. At least with Google, there's at least like there's a fucking timeline. Like I can go back in time through the docs and be like, wait, what's this? What's this? What's this? That's awesome, Felix. I mean, it's the sort of modern equivalent of like scratching something down on a piece of paper or a post-it note. I have this idea. I have to. And I haven't done nothing at all. I will say, but I haven't done anything of consequence. So, yeah, I blame Gope for setting me down this path. It's Gope's fault. I had this moment while I was learning about it. I think I was in the middle of listening to a GDC talk, and the career game developers are just yapping about it and saying stuff. GOAP, GOAP, goal oriented action planning. But anyway, when the career game developers talk about this shit, they're not doing code examples or anything like that. They're just blabbing about concepts, and there's a lot of points where you have to already know what they're talking about to follow along. And what I end up doing is a lot of like looking shit up. Like, oh, so what is this thing that they mentioned that they needed to do XYZ? And as I've already mentioned, like the sort of rabbit hole I fell down was like, well, they were talking about Gope. Gope sounds great. Sounds like just what I need. Um, because in some sense, I am trying to replicate similar behaviors and functionality to RimWorld. Not exactly. I'm not trying to plagiarize RimWorld, but I am in my head sort of like trying to reverse engineer. Well, how do these things? How does this work? How does that work? You know, whatever. And some obvious, very obvious things that RimWorld has is like they have a procedurally generated tile map. It's a grid-based movement system. They use pathfinding, probably A star. And I think they must use something probably equivalent to Gope or a Gope-like system. Doesn't have to be, but it seems like it would be the most likely thing for something like that, because you're going to have this sort of like priority ordered, and you're going to have a graph of actions because they have a pretty big cloud of potential actions that they can take, and they have goals. You know, like that seems like that's the way that the pawns work, is that they have basically a list of goals that they need to achieve that are dictated and changing also constantly, because there's all these other sort of factors that are playing into it, right? The pawns have little stats of like, well, Tainan has a book as well, which I haven't looked at, which seems like, why haven't I looked at that? I don't know. I sort of assume that it's not going to be helpful, but I don't know why I assume that. But anyway, um, but yeah, they have all these other things that factor into it too. Um, they have their hunger, their need to sleep, their need for recreation, and he made the game to sell the book. I like that. So those needs also will change sort of it will influence the priorities and the priority order of the goals for those actors, right? Constantly. So what I've been doing is trying to kind of learn how these things are typically approached. Dope seems like a likely answer because it seems like it's very it seems like a smart way to approach such a system because it's flexible versus other things. I mean, I've learned, I feel like, a tremendous amount in the past 2 weeks. It's not been actionable, but it is knowledge. I've learned a lot about AI systems, and the ups and downs, pitfalls of various approaches. Um, like state machines and stuff were commonly used, but most of the problems with other systems are that you end up with this sort of cross-referencing hell. Like the more complex it gets, the more tangled it gets, because everything has to sort of be able to either transition from one thing to the other thing, or they're coupled somehow. And it seems like what's really done is that there are sort of mixed systems. So the big Gope, how to Gope in Phaser. Close. I mean, essentially, I searched around for like examples of Gope in JavaScript. I did find a few. There's some repositories that have sort of implementations of Gope, but like the big Gope talk was based off of, well, actually, the big Gope thing was a white paper written by Jeff Orkin, who designed or was one of the designers of the system that was used in Fear. And the way they did it was a mixture of various different things. So like it had the goal oriented action planning, combined with, they were using A star for doing the cost analysis of action chains leading to a goal. So they used A star to determine the lowest cost path through actions to get a goal or to achieve a goal. But that was all happening under a state machine, but not a complex state machine. So it kind of addressed the issue. So they basically had like 3 states, I guess, that an actor could be in. So rather than having a big, messy, complex state machine to do all this stuff, they had sort of like a sort of parent state machine that handled like the three most important states, and then they had Gope handling the stuff that made them that were sort of like transitional and also made the characters more lifelike in their behaviors. I don't have the white paper up in front of me, but it was like the state machine handled like going somewhere and animating, and then something called like use smart object. But I think that the white paper almost immediately Orkin writes like and actually use smart object and animate are almost the same thing. So it's almost like it's just a two-state machine. It's a bool, basically. So yeah. So then I think just basically it's going to be like a mixture of a lot of different things, and then that sent me to trying to investigate and learn a wider array of things. Like I spent a lot of time, well, not a ton of time, but I was familiar with A*STAR, for instance, but I didn't really know the algorithms. So I spent some time actually trying to force that into my head of like, okay, how does this actually work in detail? What exactly is happening? And it's not complex, really. There's a couple parts that, like, the main thing with A*STAR is that it's a little bit difficult to keep in your head at certain points, but there's not really any hard math or anything like that. It's just a relatively simple algorithm. What do you mean to like fear? Funny thing is, I never really played fear, but I think there's definitely stuff that is close. I think what has happened is that it was a big leap at the time. And actually it was similar to how people felt about the soldiers in Half-Life. I think the soldiers in Half-Life actually used just sort of a dumb system, or well, not a dumb system, but I think they were state machine based or something. But it was more so about the smart choices were made about how that stuff worked. I remember fucking after I played Half-Life, I got into the level editor and I made a map just to put soldiers in and watch them fight aliens because it's they seemed so intelligent. It was blowing my mind. Yeah. Well, so that's what I mean about like smart choices because for instance, if you actually read the paper, which you won't, about how Gope was used in Fear, like, and this is the case with Half-Life as well. Both games, people had the impression that those AIs were communicating. The soldiers seemed like they're talking to each other and coordinating. But in actuality, they had no cross communication whatsoever at all. It was because of how they chose to employ the systems and like little things like for instance the way that they had they implemented some of like the audio lines where the soldiers would speak about what was going on. I'm trying to remember what he said, but it was along the lines of like they didn't do like a call and response kind of thing for making them seem like they were communicating. It was fuck. I have this in my head, but it's just like slipping my mind. And so now I'm going to pull up a white paper. Let me see if I can find this. Because I thought it was really interesting and smart. Ah, squad communication. Ba-ba-ba. Right. Vocalizing intentions can sometimes even be enough without any actual implementation of the associated squad behavior. So they had stuff that sort of acknowledged that there was a squad. So like this part here says, for example, when an AI realizes he is the last surviving member of a squad, he says some variation of, I need reinforcements. There was no mechanism for reinforcements, but the thinking was, well, the player was going to run into more enemies anyway, so the player would just assume those were the reinforcements. And that kind of shit works. Here's another part. When the AI are searching for the player, rather than having one AI say, where did he go? We can have two AI in conversation where one asks the other if he sees anything. The other AI may respond with a negative or call out a known or suspected position. So, like, it was just really intelligent usage of simple systems without building all this crazy complexity to actually, like, oh, they're communicating. And in Half-Life, it was even more so fakery and trickery that gives the impression that they're working together, but they weren't at all. They were completely independent actors. And I think there may have been some squad cues, maybe. There's some stuff that they would do that was just like, there's no way that they're not working together, but most of it was fakery. I don't know if I agree with that, Epio. I would say that it's what's more important is identifying what works appropriately for the game. And I think that in the case of Half-Life and Fear, those were actually the appropriate kinds of AI for those. Like, difficulty level is a whole other thing. Like, take Alien Isolation, for example. Alien Isolation was a case where having a really intelligent seeming AI was exactly the correct move. But the AI is, again, not all that complex in the case of Alien Isolation. There are some really cool things about it. Yes, I went down this road as well in my quest. So the one of the most interesting things is the vent system. The way you may remember that, like, one of the really scary parts of the game is the alien would go in the vents and then you would hear it traveling around the vents. And I remember wondering, like, is that just an effect? Is that real? And it is real. What happens is when the alien goes in the vent, the model gets turned off and whatever, and it's invisible. But wherever you hear it traveling, that is where it is. It's just an invisible entity, but it is actually moving around in that way. And that's awesome to me. I love that because that was such a good effect. It was employed so well for what they needed to achieve in that game to make it feel good. I don't know basically anything about how Mr. X worked, but I would love to know because Mr. X was really good. That shit was nonstop tension. I hated it in the moment, but I love remembering it. Oh, that's fantastic. I know. Well, I've read this white paper a couple of times, and every time I'm like, I need to fucking play Fear. I don't know why I never did. I never fucking played it. It's a horror shooter game. It's like up my alley, but I just didn't play it. There are some games that are from the period of time when I was in university and I had no money and didn't have good enough internet, if you know what I'm saying, where I missed a lot of games. And then there was a big window of time when I was at that startup where I didn't even play any games for a few years. I just had I had no way to do so. So I there's like a big block of stuff that I just missed, and I think Fear was somewhere in there. But yeah, there's a lot about the alien AI that's really interesting. Unfortunately, almost none of it is really applicable to the stuff I'm looking to do. So I didn't spend too much further time on that. But the way that they had it patrol and they had some systems that gave the impression of learning. Like if you got away with hiding too often, then they would sort of flip on this flag with the alien of like, okay, you're gonna check under things more. You're gonna check lockers more, which is really great. And that did really keep you on your toes in that game because it became quite unpredictable over time. Also, the system for the ambush was really good. There was a system where like when it would come out of event, there was a sort of patrol range that would sort of shrink over time, and then it would retreat back to the vent. Just a lot of really good stuff. It was really tailored and brilliantly so, resulting in a fantastic game. The one good Alien game. So, yeah. So I've just been on a quest to learn about a lot of stuff, you know. I went pretty deep on pathfinding, on GOP, blackboard architecture, finite state machines, behavior trees, composite and component patterns. And I think I've been trying to stuff too much stuff in my head too quickly. I think I had one like that too, Punkster. I think there was one where I had a save like at a bad time where there was like it didn't seem like there was any way I could escape the alien every time I loaded in or something like that. But I think that some random occurrence happened. There was a time where I loaded in and the alien just went away instead. Don't quite remember what happened. Just a long time ago. And I was like manically, oh yeah, the game's definitely about to end. You know, hour 14 of the stream. Ah. I think I remember we got like jump scared while I was saving, right? Something wild happened. Speaking of wild things that happened, there was a sort of weird uh rabbit hole I went down that was wildly unexpected. Of like, I went to this one person's channel. They seemed like they were a really great teacher. I went to look and see what their other videos were because the videos that I had found were like from a decade ago. So I went to go see what was new. They hadn't um, posted any more of those basically since that time, but had periodically put a video or two out here and there. And then their most recent video was this just really long and sad story that I watched the entirety of. And I'm not going to tell you what it was because I don't want to, I just don't want to tell you. But that was weird. Um, didn't intend for that to occur. Oh, yeah, Routine. I was excited about Routine for a while. The trailer really sold me on it. And then it just seemed like only bad things happened from then on. I'm still not clear on whether it exists or doesn't exist or what. Oh wow. Do we like Mick Gordon? Do we hate Mick Gordon? I don't remember. That was a weird time. We hate everyone. No, I couldn't get enough. After the leg, I had to have more. I have moved on to arm. Dave, thank you for 83 months, buddy. Well, I see. I'm referring to the fact that there was like a lot of really weird mixed stories during that whole thing. I kind of just bounced out of it, the whole thing. Yeah, you see, even now, even now, I loved what he did, and I ejected from that whole thing because I just kind of wanted to stay in that space. That's where I landed. His work on Doom 2016 was immaculate, just purely perfect. I thought Doom Eternal was all right. I really feel like I don't have almost any feelings about the Dark Ages or whatever. It looks okay, I guess. I just don't. I don't know. I just don't really have any hype for it. I guess I don't have disdain for it either. I'm just sort of lukewarm on it. I'm gonna grab a water. I'll be right back. Every time you do that, a little envelope slides down in my mind. Did it have a cutscene about God? I'll be honest, I don't really remember Eternal. I played it all the way through, right? Oh, I didn't. That's true. I didn't play the DLC. Oh, there's two DLCs. Okay, I have not played two DLCs. Yeah, I think I played through the main game and then that was it. I just have to say, I guess I didn't really feel like I needed more. Ah, I see. I will say, I think I did go back to Doom 2016 for comparison purposes. I think I felt like the movement was tightened up in a good way in Eternal compared to 2016. Yes, I did play Control. I loved Control. The oldest house. It was beautiful. Yeah, we love Control around here, buddy. Well, I know that people were all about it. I just didn't I didn't jump on it. And I have to say that's because I didn't care for Alan Wake. And I know I'm wrong or whatever. Um and yeah, Alan Wake 2 could be very much a very different game. I feel like you guys are just saying that. How could it be? Well, I do recall people were constantly talking about how they're supposed to be in the same universe and blah blah. And I was like, that's weird because this is good. I'm glad I'm at least not alone in feeling like Alan Wake 1 was kind of a snoozer. I To be fair, I didn't get very far. So that's on me because I really didn't like the gameplay. I didn't like the whole flashlight shooty that stuff. I don't know. It just I felt bad because I wanted to like it. That was probably my mistake. I think I went in with probably expectations too high. Yeah, are you sure you're not setting me up for failure here? Because like for me, Control was like an exceptional game. You know, are you sure you want to set those expectations going into into Alan Wake 2? Also, is Alan Wake 2 a horror game, and or should I then slot it into Scream a Day this year, or is it an any old time game? Okay. Well, I mean, I'm just that shit can change, and I literally know nothing about it. I haven't watched a trailer. I haven't even seen a conversation about it. So I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking questions. Don't spoil me on anything. Oh, okay. Well, that's a good pitch. That's a good pitch. God, I loved Control. Like They just knocked it the fuck out of the park. It was really great. The whole way through, it was really great. So I did a brief taste test of Disco Elysium, liked it, but then did not return. And that's on me. It's a game I know it's a great game because it's often referenced. I know that I missed out and I need to remedy that at some point. It just happened. But I will. Yeah, someday I'll play Firewatch. It's playing Stanley Parable after that was the wildest thing that could have happened. That was so fucking nuts. Thank you for the dicks. Benny, thank you for the dicks. God, Firewatch is so bittersweet because it was so good. God, it was so good. Nine Souls? No. This is the first time I've ever seen those two words together. Oh, shit. Okay. Top of my list. Top of my list. Which Where's server do I have to get it from? What do I have to do? Oh, it's a Metroidvania. Okay, that's highly unexpected. Nice, Dave. Perfect execution. I give it 14 out of 14. Of course, I love Super Mario Brothers 3. Kitsune Tales. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. It looks like, you know what this looks like? Is like Mystical Ninja meets Mario. Sold. Add to your wish list. Nine Souls. Oh, wow. This instantly reminds me of that one game. That one game I did so wrong. Hollow Knight. I can't be forgiven. My transgressions are too great. Hello? Where's Alan Wake 2? It's not on here, is it? Don't tell me. Really? I will open the cursed app that I haven't opened in Ages. Gonna probably have to fucking give them like my driver's license or social security number or something to even get in. I'm so reminded of Origin. Does Origin still exist? Do they have games on Origin? Has anybody opened Origin in the past 5 years? I didn't. I'm not blaming them. I blame Epic. Is it dead? Like dead? Oh, wait, how dead is it? Did I miss like some sort of there must have been a game transfer. I still have Origin installed. I haven't opened it in a billion fucking years. I did see that, Pandora. I stupidly have the PlayStation 5 copy here, but Final Fantasy 7 sucked the life out of me. And so I didn't dare I didn't dare start Final Fantasy 16. We wouldn't have survived. So if you open Origin, it says, "Whoops, the installer encountered an error. Please quit and restart the installation. You'll be up and running in no time." I assume that's not true. I don't think I owned anything on Origin that I give a fuck about. So it's fine. Sign in with your EA
Oh my
account.
god, so much styrofoam is coming out of everywhere.
Shade the Snake, thank you for 89 months. Epic. Blah, blah, blah. Your credentials are incorrect or have expired. Please try again or reset your password. You fucking kidding me, dude? Oh, that's because this is not Epic. I'm fucking trying to sign into Origin over here. It popped up in front of the Epic login. I didn't know it was going to do that. Tricked me. Fucking tricked me. Let me get my authentication code. Fuck. Tenosis out here to kick me while I'm down. Yeah. Tenosis, thank you for 110 months. Yeah, I mean, you really got to take care of yourself, right? Oh, is Black Myth also an Epic exclusive? No. Wonder how that's been. Oh my god, overwhelmingly positive 340,000. Jesus. Wow. 2.4 million players at once? Jesus. That's fucking incredible. No, I have not. I heard some rumors that it had come out. Does that answer your question? Just watching the trailer. I always thought it looked really fucking great, despite their logo looking like a sperm for some reason. Yeah, it looks amazing. So does it play like Souls, like it seemed like it would, or what's the deal with that? Boss rush? Less intricate God of War. Interesting. It just looks really incredible, is basically all I can say. Every time I have looked at anything from it, the artwork looks absolutely fucking insane. Oh, that's good. It runs well on PC, eh? Yeah, these trailers are nuts. Oh, we love controversy. Chud game of choice? Is that so? Oh boy. Oh boy. I think I see where this is going. That's boy oh boy, that's an invitation to Barbara Streisand the fuck out of those topics. Just what a stupid move. That's so fucking brain dead. I mean, what power do they have to stop anybody from doing any such thing? This was embargo stuff. All right. Okay. Okay. I thought that was like just general for everyone. Oh boy. Do I need to? I guess I'll look it up. What was it? Game science. Game science hiring practices. Oh yeah, of course they did. Yeah, they're worthless waste of space. Those guys. They just can't stop being painfully fucking weird. Uh, I'm finding that there's been like the news has been whitewashed by the fact that they apparently are hiring like 200 roles right now. No, 2,000 roles. They're hiring 2,000 roles? What are they doing? Are they building a spaceship? Well, you guys are gonna have to just tell me because I'm not finding anything about the. Wait. I found a thread. Unfortunately, it's a Reddit thread, so this is going to be a nightmare. I'll just go to the article. The article's on IGN, so this is going to be a nightmare. Headless bar. Yeah, I'm on that article right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds like shit. Wow. Fucking. What the fuck? Weird.
Weird. Why are dudes so weird? Stop being so fucking strange. Is it that hard? Okay, so I wasn't alone in that. Finally, there's the Game Science logo. Several Chinese netizens have pointed out that it resembles a sperm. Game Science has yet to confirm or deny this finding. This finding? It was. I had to sneeze and I reflexively hit both my regular mute key and my Discord mute key, even though I am not in a call. My apologies. Oh, weird. Weird and wild. Crackdowns on labor organizing efforts. Weird. Wow, how unexpected. Yeah, we have a real pandemic going on basically across the world, I guess, of insecure guys. Humanity is just churning out shitloads of insecure dudes. Oh man. Brian has some fucking bangers on Blue Sky. There was this post he did like 2 days ago that killed me. Um there was a Tom and Bunny like Facebook post. This is going to be incomprehensible to most of you. And there was this guy that replied who he was like he said something fucking insane. It was basically like, you talk a big game, but let's see her moves. Where's the video? And then the last screenshot is just a close up of the that poster's avatar, which is him and his two kids. Just unhinged, incredibly unhinged. So fucking funny. Oh, Brian is he's a true historian. He's out there doing the Lord's work. Jesus fucking Christ, man. I'm still reading this article. I'm sorry. Like just like it keeps getting worse. I don't understand how it could possibly keep getting worse, but it does. Like this fucking statement here. In response, detractors diminish the severity of Game Science's remarks while defending Black Myth's status as a potential massive breakout for the Chinese industry, one that would cement the country's place in the global games conversation after years of insular development. That success, many argued, did not need to involve women. What the fuck? Quote, AAA games and most games don't actually need female players. One person commented on Daoban. What about the pitiful sales you contribute? Can it save Game Science from fire or something? Ay, ay, ay. Fucking hell, man. The whole planet is sort of barreling towards like a weird fascism seemingly everywhere. It just all sort of, I guess it's just the internet. It must be the internet. I think I think that's the bad ingredient that got added. Everybody being able to talk to each other wasn't a good idea. I mean, that's what I'm saying, yes. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild that like you take the lid off of China and you peer in and it's like, oh shit, it's all happening in there too. Guys, it's happening there as all also. Same thing. Uh it's discouraging. This article is so long and it just keeps getting worse. Jesus, fuck. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, that sucks. That sucks a lot. Which is, very fucking obvious. Thank you for this fun news, Nin. That is good and fun news. I enjoy that news. Yeah, there really isn't an equivalent far left. The thing about the far right is that it's actually quite near. It's actually an optical illusion. Yo, Pubs, this game actually looks sick. Aliens Neoplasma? I thought you were joking, but it looks like you were correct, sir. This looks awesome. Well, we went on a fucking journey. Oh, cool. Okay, so this is like a modern game. Wait, is this just in ZX Spectrum style? I'm so confused. Let me check the trailer out. I love this style. Thank you for supporting the Spectrum Next. What? Oh, ZX Spectrum Next? What's that? Oh. I wonder if this is one of those things that you have to jump on before Sega comes along and fucking shoots it in the face. I assume this is not. Well, I mean, the trailer's from a year ago, so it's probably safe. There is one, like most Aliens games, particularly the old platformers like this, were not very good. But this looks pretty great. But it reminds me of another game that I didn't end up getting around to playing, which was, I believe, it was a platformer similar to this. I think it was DS. I bought it and stuck it in the old backlog and never got around to playing it, but it looked pretty great. Ah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Here, I'm going to post this in the same channel. I don't know if it's good, but it definitely looks good. Aliens infestation. No, it was instantly it came up when I typed in aliens DS. Yeah, it's for the DS. Well, anywho, I don't really have anything else to chat about, so I think I will just clear on out of here. But thanks for hanging out. Sorry we didn't do Rimworld tonight, but Nakomi just needed she needed to rest. So I'll be back tomorrow for Sunday Gun Day, and hopefully tomorrow I actually write some damn code instead of just researching stuff. We'll see. But y'all have a good night, and I will see you next stream.